I never liked the idea of that trip. A whole week at some overpriced resort for her best friend's bachelorette party? A bunch of married and single women drinking, dancing, and living it up in some tropical paradise while I stayed home, working, taking care of the house, trusting her to remember the vows she made. A girl's trip, she called it. A well-earned break, Doc. We never do anything for ourselves anymore, she said. It's just for fun. You know I would never do anything stupid. I smiled, nodded, even helped her pack, but something about it just did not sit right with me. Not because I did not trust her, at least that is what I told myself, but because I knew exactly what kind of place it was. Resorts like that were not just about lounging by the pool with a drink in hand. They were playgrounds for drunk tourists looking to forget their responsibilities for a few nights. People went there to act single, and I knew exactly the kind of men who worked at those places. Young, fit, smooth-talking. Their whole job was to charm, to flirt, to make every woman feel like the most desirable thing in the world. It was all part of the experience, part of the fantasy. But fantasies could become real. I should have put my foot down. I should have said no. But what kind of husband does that? The controlling kind. The insecure kind. And I was not that guy. So I told myself to let it go. She sent me pictures the first 2 days, laughing with the girls, holding colorful drinks, stretched out by the pool in bikinis that left almost nothing to the imagination. She looked happy, carefree, and as much as I hated to admit it, I felt a little relieved. Maybe I was just overthinking. Then the text slowed down. At first, I barely noticed. Instead of full conversations, I got quick little check-ins. Having fun. Miss you. That was it. No details. No updates. Then, by day 4, the messages stopped altogether. I try not to let it get to me. Maybe she was just caught up in the fun. Maybe her phone service was spotty. Maybe she just did not feel like checking in. Or maybe she did not want me to know what she was doing. That night, I lay in bed, staring at my phone, waiting for a message that never came. My mind started running in circles, picking apart every little thing, every small change in her behavior. The doubts I had buried before started clawing their way back up. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was just exhausted. I told myself I would hear from her in the morning. Then, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed. A single message. Can we talk about last night? I feel guilty. I sat up so fast I nearly dropped my phone. My brain needed a second to process what I was seeing. The words did not make sense at first. Then all at once they did. The message was not meant for me. I stared at the screen, my whole body going ice cold. My fingers tightened around the phone as something dark and ugly twisted in my gut. Guilty. She felt guilty. Not sorry. Not heartbroken. Not drowning in regret. Just guilty. I took a breath, then another, forcing myself to stay calm as I typed out a response. What last night? No reply. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. I called. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. I sat there in the dark, gripping my phone so tight my knuckles went white. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out every rational thought. I did not need to hear the details. I did not need her to spell it out. That one stupid text told me everything I needed to know. She cheated, and she was not even going to tell me. She was going to come home, smile like nothing happened, wrap her arms around me, and hope I never found out. I ran a hand down my face, trying to think, trying to breathe, trying to swallow down the rage boiling up inside me. But I could not. It was too late for that. I was done being the trusting husband. I was going to find out exactly what happened. And when I did, she was going to regret it. Morning came, but I did not sleep. How could I? My mind had been spinning all night, running through every excuse she might give, every lie she might try to tell. But the truth was already staring me in the face. That message was not a mistake. It was not some innocent misunderstanding. She did something, and I was going to make sure she did not get away with it. Something bad enough to feel guilty about. The moment the sun came up, I grabbed my phone. Still nothing. No response to my message, no follow-up, no missed calls. Just silence. I could see it so clearly in my head. Her waking up in some hotel bed, rolling over, grabbing her phone, and realizing what she had done. Maybe she panicked. Maybe she deleted the message and convinced herself it was better if I never knew. Too late. I got up and started pacing the kitchen, Drinking a cup of coffee I could barely taste. My hands were shaking, my stomach twisted in a knot so tight I felt sick. Anger burned inside me, but there was something worse underneath it, disgust. Not just at her, at myself, for trusting her, for letting her go in the first place, for being so damn blind. By noon, my phone finally buzzed. A text. Hey babe, sorry I didn't text, my phone died. We had a crazy night, laugh out loud. Love you. Like nothing happened. Like she had not just sent a message meant for someone else. Like I was an absolute idiot. I did not respond. I just sat there, staring at those words, feeling my anger burn hotter with every passing second. She was not even trying to cover her tracks properly. She was stalling, testing the waters, trying to see if I had seen the message, if I had figured it out yet. I was not going to make it easy for her. I waited an hour before replying. Sounds fun. What did you guys do? I imagined her sitting by the pool, phone in hand, heart skipping a beat. It took her 5 minutes to answer. Just partied at the resort. Met some fun people. Nothing crazy, laugh out loud. Nothing crazy. Liar. My grip tightened around my phone. I had seen the pictures she sent me earlier in the trip. Fancy drinks, poolside lounging, dressed up for dinners, all smiles. But now, the details were vague. Met some fun people. That was all she was willing to give me. I needed a push. Who did you meet? This time it took longer. Almost 20 minutes. Then, just people at the bar. The bartender was really cool. He made us special drinks. The girls were obsessed with him. Laugh out loud. I stopped breathing. The bartender. It was almost too obvious. Too cliché. But the second I read those words, everything clicked into place. Her message was not for me. She had sent it to someone she felt guilty about. Someone who had been there. Someone she had been with. And who was always there. The guy pouring their drinks all night. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I forced myself to stay calm, to think. She was feeding me just enough truth to sound innocent, just enough to keep me from asking too many questions. But it was not enough. Nice. What is his name? A pause. Longer this time. Then, I do not remember, laugh out loud. I was pretty drunk. I almost laughed. The kind of bitter, humorless laugh you let out when you realize just how deep someone is willing to dig their own grave. She did not remember. After calling him cool and saying the girls were obsessed with him, after spending the whole night drinking the special drinks he made, she was scrambling. I let the silence hang between us. Let her wonder if I was buying her story. Let her start to sweat. Then I typed, "That is weird. You sent me a text last night. Said you felt guilty. What was that about?" Delivered. Read. No reply. Not for a long time. I pictured her stomach dropping, the color draining from her face, the frantic way she would scroll through our messages, realizing her mistake. I watched the 3 little dots appear, disappear, then appear again. She was trying to come up with a way out. Try to twist this into something innocent. Then, finally, "Oh my God, babe, I did not mean that for you. It was about a dumb fight we had with some guy at the club. It was nothing. A fight." Now she was making up an entirely new story. I could almost respect the effort. Almost. I did not reply. I did not need to. I already had enough. She was lying to my face. And worse, she thought I was stupid enough to believe it. That was the worst part. Not the cheating itself. Not even the pathetic excuses. The fact that she thought she could get away with it. She was coming home in 2 days. That gave me 48 hours to decide exactly what I was going to do. And I already knew one thing for sure. She was not walking back into this house like nothing happened. Not a chance in hell. I did not text her again that day. I let her sit in silence. I wanted her to wonder what I was thinking. If I had bought her ridiculous excuse. If she had managed to talk her way out of this. She did not text me again, either. That told me everything. She was scared. And she should be. I spent the rest of the night pacing through the house, my mind spinning in endless loops. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. Her, sitting in some dimly lit resort bar, laughing at some guy's jokes, letting him touch her, letting him lead her somewhere private. Drunk or not, she had made a choice. And now, she was lying straight to my face, thinking she could just brush it under the rug like it never happened. I kept staring at her messages. Met some fun people. Nothing crazy, laugh out loud. The bartender was really cool. I do not remember, laugh out loud. I was pretty drunk. Lies. I knew exactly what kind of fun she had. I could picture the whole thing in my head, step by step. How it probably started with a few drinks, her letting herself get swept up in the moment. How the bartender, some smooth-talking, tan, pretty boy who had done this 100 times before, made her feel special, made her feel young again. How her friends probably egged her on, laughing, teasing, telling her it was all just harmless fun. And then, at some point, she crossed a line. At some point, she stopped being my wife. I picked up my phone and scrolled through her old texts. Looked at the pictures she had sent me earlier in the trip. The ones where she was smiling, relaxed, glowing in a way I had not seen in a long time. She looked happy, not like a woman who was missing her husband, not like a woman thinking about the life waiting for her back home. And now, she was scrambling. By the next morning, she must have realized her silence was not working, because I woke up to a long text. Babe, are you mad at me? I feel like you're being weird. I swear it was nothing. I just meant that text for the girls. You know how crazy they are. Laugh out loud. I love you, okay? Cannot wait to see you. I almost laughed. It was pathetic. She knew I was not buying it. That was why she was trying to spin it now, playing the worried wife, acting like I was the problem for not responding. I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the screen. I could end it all right now. Tell her I knew. Tell her she was full of it. Tell her she could stay at that resort because she was not coming home to me. But no, that was too easy. She was expecting me to be mad, expecting me to lash out, start a fight, demand answers. That was how these things usually went, right? The angry husband, the crying wife, the desperate apologies. I was not giving her that. I was going to let her walk through that door thinking she had won, thinking she had fooled me. And then I was going to watch her world collapse. The next 2 days dragged by in a blur. I went through my usual routine, but nothing felt the same. The house felt colder. The silence was heavier. Even looking at our wedding photos on the wall made me sick. Every time my phone buzzed, I ignored it. I knew she was trying to keep up appearances, trying to act normal. I was not interested. She did not deserve normal. The morning of her flight, another text popped up. Landing at 5. Cannot wait to see you, babe. I missed you so much. I bet you did. I did not reply. I just waited. By the time I pulled up to the airport, the parking lot was packed with people coming and going, reuniting with their loved ones. I watched as couples embraced, parents scooped up their kids, friends laughed as they loaded up their luggage. And for a brief second, I wondered, how many of these people were living a lie? How many husbands were standing there, smiling at wives who had just spent a week in paradise doing things they would never admit? How many wives were stepping off that plane, guilt bubbling in their stomachs, already rehearsing their excuses? Then I saw her. She walked out of the terminal wearing a loose sundress, her hair still sun-kissed from the trip, her skin glowing with a fresh tan. She looked different, lighter, freer, like she had left something behind at that resort. Or someone. The moment she spotted me, she lit up. That same wide, bright smile she used to give me back before life got in the way, before marriage turned into routine. She hurried toward me, dragging her suitcase behind her, and without hesitation, she threw her arms around my neck. I did not hug her back. I did not even move. She pulled back slightly, searching my face. Wow, no hug, she teased, forcing out a laugh. But I caught the flicker of hesitation in her eyes. I just stared at her, watched her smile falter, watched the first seed of doubt settle in. Good. She laughed again, but this time it was different, nervous, forced. Geez, I guess someone really missed me, huh? I did not answer. I just reached down, grabbed her suitcase, and tossed it into the trunk. When I turned back, she was biting her lip, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. She was waiting for me to say something, to ask about her trip, to act normal. But I was not normal. Not anymore. Finally, she broke the silence. Babe, are you okay? I met her eyes and smiled. A slow, cold, knowing smile. Yeah, I said. I'm great. Then I got into the car. She hesitated for a moment before climbing into the passenger seat. And as I pulled out of the airport, taking her back to the life she had destroyed, I could feel it, the walls closing in on her. She had no idea what was coming, but she would soon. The drive home was suffocating. She sat stiffly beside me, shifting in her seat, sneaking glances in my direction. She was waiting for me to break the silence, waiting for me to ask her about her trip, to show interest, to pretend like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I kept my hand steady on the wheel, my eyes locked on the road. I could feel the tension rolling off her, hear her shallow breaths as she tried to figure out why I was not acting the way she had expected. "You're quiet," she finally said, forcing a small laugh. "Did you miss me that much?" I smiled, just enough to unsettle her. Something like that. That shut her up. The rest of the drive was silent, except for the occasional buzz of her phone. I caught her glancing at it, hesitating before picking it up, deleting messages, maybe, trying to clean up her mess before I could see it. It did not matter. I already knew. When we pulled into the driveway, she let out a dramatic sigh. "Ugh, I am so exhausted. That flight was brutal." She stretched her arms, faking a yawn. "I just want to shower and sleep for like 10 years. She was trying to reset things, trying to walk back into a normal life, into the arms of a husband who would welcome her home with love and warmth. I grabbed her suitcase from the trunk and wheeled it inside, not saying a word as she followed behind me. The second she stepped inside, she paused. Her eyes darted around. "You cleaned?" "Yeah." She let out a nervous little laugh. "Wow, you really did miss me." I did not respond. She placed her purse down on the counter, shifting from foot to foot, waiting for me to say something, do something. She was desperate to fill the silence, to drag the conversation into safer waters. "So," she said lightly, "what did you do while I was gone?" I turned to her slowly, meeting her gaze. "I thought." She blinked. "About what?" I took a step toward her. Her smile faltered. "About your trip," I said. She forced another laugh, too high-pitched, too forced. "Oh God, it was crazy. The girls got so drunk. You would have laughed your ass off." I did not laugh. She swallowed hard, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Seriously, I wish you could have seen it. The things we—" "Tell me about the bartender." Her mouth snapped shut. Her face drained of color so fast, it was almost funny. "Bartender," she echoed, her voice slightly shaky, trying to play dumb. I tilted my head slightly. "Yeah, the one you said was cool. The one who made you special drinks. The one you do not remember because you were so drunk." She stared at me, her lips parting slightly, but no sound came out. I took another step forward. "You said you didn't remember his name. That is strange, don't you think? You remember everything else about the trip, except him." Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. I could see her mind racing, scrambling for a way out. "Babe," she finally said, her voice soft, pleading. "Why are you acting like this?" "Like what?" Like you think I did something wrong." I laughed. A real bitter laugh. "Did you?" She stiffened. "Of course not." I let the silence stretch between us. Let her feel the weight of my stare. Let her feel my disgust in every second that passed. Then I pulled out my phone, and I showed her the message. "Can we talk about last night?" I feel guilty. Her breath hitched. I watched her pupils shrink, watch her throat bob as she swallowed. I could see it happen, the exact moment she realized her lies were falling apart. "That," she stammered, "that was not about what you think." "What do I think?" She opened her mouth, closed it again. And then the tears came. "Oh my God, babe. You are taking this the wrong way. It was not like that. I was drunk. I do not even remember what happened." I smiled. A cold, bitter thing. "There it is." Her brows furrowed. "What?" "The excuse," I said. "You were drunk. You do not remember. Just some big mistake that totally was not your fault." Tears streamed down her cheeks. And for the first time, she was not faking it. She knew. She knew I knew. "Babe," she choked out, reaching for me. "Please." I stepped back. She froze. "You are disgusting." She gasped like I had slapped her. But I was not finished. I pulled out my phone again, my heart pounding in my chest, and pressed play on the recording. A man's voice filled the room. "I do not know what to tell you, man. Your wife came onto me. She was not that drunk. Her entire body went rigid. She told me she was married. She did not care. If you're looking for an apology, I do not have one. It was not a mistake. It was a choice." I let the words linger in the air. Let them crush her the same way they had crushed me. Then I turned the screen toward her, showing her the messages I had exchanged with him. "The bartender." He had not hesitated to tell me everything. She staggered back, her hand flying her mouth. "Babe," she whispered, shaking. I can explain." I tilted my head. "Yeah? Go ahead." She tried to speak, but nothing came out, because she knew there was nothing left to say. Her lies had crumbled. Her excuses had failed. And I was done. I turned, walked to the front door, and opened it. She stared at me, horrified. What were you doing?" I did not answer. I just stepped aside, gesturing toward the open door. It took her a second to process it, to understand. Then the sob started. "No, please. You do not mean this." I did not blink. "You cheated," I said. "You lied. You thought I would never find out." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. But I did. She reached for me again, but this time I did not move. I just looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. Nothing but disgust. "Get out," I said. She shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. "Babe, please. I made a mistake. Not my problem. Babe, I love you." I laughed. "Yeah? You sure as hell did not love me when you spread your legs for that bartender." Her face crumpled. I pointed to the door. "Leave." She stood there, shaking, waiting for me to change my mind. But I would not. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Her breath hitched. Then, finally, she grabbed her purse, grabbed her suitcase, and she walked out. I slammed the door behind her. And just like that, I was free. The second the door shut behind her, I felt it. Relief. Not sadness. Not regret. Not second-guessing. Just pure, unfiltered relief. The house was silent. For the first time in a long time, it actually felt like mine again. No more fake smiles. No more lying texts. No more pretending. She was gone. I leaned against the door, taking a deep breath. My hands were no longer shaking. My heartbeat had slowed. The weight that had been crushing my chest since the moment I saw that text, the one she never meant for me, was finally gone. And I was not about to let it creep back in. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle, and poured myself a drink. Whiskey. The good kind. The kind I had been saving for special occasions. I guess this counted. I stood there for a while, letting the burn settle, staring at nothing in particular. My mind was blank, empty in a way that almost felt foreign. No anger. No sadness. Just clarity. She was out of my house. Out of my life. And she was not coming back. That should have been the end of it. But it was not, because she was not done. The first text came 5 minutes later. "Please, babe, just talk to me. I messed up, I know that. But I love you. We can fix this. Please do not throw everything away over one mistake." I did not answer. Then another. "You are my husband. I made a stupid choice, but that is not who I am. Please just call me." Still nothing. Then the missed call started. 1, then 2, then 5, then 10. By the time the voicemail notifications began rolling in, I turned my phone off completely and tossed it onto the counter. I was not interested in her excuses. I was not interested in her crocodile tears or her desperate attempts to manipulate me into forgiving her. She did not deserve forgiveness. She did not deserve another second of my time. I should have gone to bed, should have let it go, should have moved on. But some part of me, the part that was not done punishing her, wanted to see how far she would go. So I turned my phone back on, and I listened. The first voicemail was nothing but sobbing. No words, just shaky breaths and ugly, broken crying, like she thought her tears alone would fix everything. The second was the same. Then came the bargaining. "Please just come outside and talk to me. I am still in the driveway. I will not leave until you talk to me." I walked to the window, pulled back the curtain just enough to see her car parked at the curb, her silhouette slumped behind the wheel. Pathetic. The next voicemail had an edge to it. "You cannot just throw me out like trash. I am your wife. You do not just give up on a marriage because of one mistake." Funny. She had not seemed too concerned about our marriage when she was riding that bartender at the resort. I deleted it. The next message was worse. "Fine. If you will not talk to me, I will make you talk to me. You think you can just cut me out of your life like I am nothing? I will take everything. You hear me? I will take half the house, half your money, half of everything. You will regret this." And there it was. The real her. The version she had hidden behind fake tears and hollow apologies. I let the message play out, let the words sink in. Then I did the only thing that felt right. I laughed because it was hilarious. She really thought she still had power here, that she could threaten me, intimidate me, manipulate me into crawling back. Like I was scared of her, like I would ever let her take another dime from me. I walked to my desk, pulled out a folder, and flipped it open. The papers were already signed. The lawyer had made sure of it before she even got on that plane. I had already started the divorce process. One phone call, one meeting, a little legal advice. Turns out, when you cheat, you do not get much in the settlement. She could threaten all she wanted. She was getting nothing. I picked up my phone again, scrolled past the rest of her pathetic messages, and sent the only response she was ever going to get from me. Check your email. Less than a minute later, another voicemail. But this time, she was not crying. She was screaming, "You bastard! You cannot do this to me." I could, and I had. I poured myself another drink, listening to her rage, letting it fuel the last bit of satisfaction I needed before I finally hit delete. Then I turned off my phone. Let her sit with that. That was the last time I ever spoke to her. She fought the divorce, of course. Drag it out. Try to play the victim. Try to twist the narrative. Try to make me look like the bad guy. It did not work. The evidence was too strong. The messages, the call recordings, the bartender's confession. She never stood a chance. She walked away with nothing. No house. No money. No sympathy. Just the weight of her own mistakes. And me? I walked away free. No baggage. No regrets. No looking back. Because at the end of the day, that is the thing about cheaters. They always think they can get away with it. Until they do not. The day the divorce was finalized, I woke up lighter. No more lawyers. No more negotiations. No more messages from her, begging, demanding, threatening. It was over. Official. I was a free man. I did not celebrate. Did not go out drinking. Did not post some triumphant speech about how I had won. There was nothing to win. I had just cut off a parasite that had been feeding on me for years. She, on the other hand, she had lost everything. No house. No money. No support. Just a stack of legal documents and a reminder of how badly she had screwed up. And the best part? I had made sure her reputation went down with her. Not through lies. Not through petty revenge. Just the truth. I did not have to tell people what happened. I did not need to. The moment the court documents became public, people started putting the pieces together. And the more they talked, the worse it got for her. Her friends, the ones who had hyped up that wild girls trip, who had giggled and whispered and looked the other way, started distancing themselves. They did not want to be associated with her. Her family, embarrassed, stopped defending her. Even her job? Gone. Turns out, cheating on your husband and lying about it does not exactly make you an ideal candidate for a company that values integrity. Who knew? I did not see her again for months. Did not think about her. Did not care where she was or what she was doing. But then, one night, I was at a bar with some friends. Just a normal night. A couple of drinks, a couple of laughs, nothing crazy. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her. She was sitting alone at the bar, a half-empty drink in front of her, staring down at her phone like she was waiting for a message that was never coming. She looked different. The confident, glowing woman who had strutted into the airport after her little girl's trip was gone. Now, she looked tired, hollow, worn down by months of consequences she never thought she would have to face. For a brief second, she glanced up. Our eyes met. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I saw it. Not anger, not arrogance, not excuses, just regret. She knew she had ruined everything. She knew I was better off without her. I held her gaze for a moment, just long enough for her to see that I felt nothing. Then I turned back to my friends. No wave, no nod, no acknowledgement, nothing. And that was the real victory. I thought that moment at the bar would be the last time I ever saw her. That should have been the final chapter, the point where our lives split for good, where she faded into the background of my past, just another lesson I had learned the hard way. But cheaters do not let go that easily, especially not when they lose everything. The first text came 2 weeks later. "Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say I am sorry. I know that does not mean anything now, but I needed you to hear it." I stared at the message, my grip tightening around my phone. I should have ignored it. Should have deleted it without a second thought. Instead, I let it sit there, unread, like a rotting piece of fruit left out in the sun. A few days later, another one. I had a dream about you last night. About us. It felt so real. And then I woke up and I do not know. I just miss you. I miss everything. I hate how this all turned out. I rolled my eyes and tossed my phone onto the counter. Pathetic. She had burned our marriage to the ground, stomped on the ashes, and now she wanted to stand there acting like she was mourning something she destroyed. It was almost funny. Almost. For weeks, she kept at it. Sometimes it was late-night texts, drunk, emotional, full of I miss yous and I wish I could take it all backs. Other times it was guilt trips. I saw an old picture of us today. It broke me. I do not know how to move on from this. I do not expect you to forgive me, but can we at least talk? I feel like I need closure. Closure. She wanted closure. Like she was the one who got screwed over. Like she was the one who needed healing. I never responded, because I did not need closure. I had found mine the moment I slammed that door at her face. But she was not done, because after weeks of unanswered messages, she showed up. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was in my backyard, beer in hand, finally enjoying the kind of peace I had not had in years. Then the doorbell rang. At first, I thought maybe it was a package, maybe a neighbor, maybe anything but what it actually was. I opened the door, and there she was, standing on my porch, looking like a ghost of the woman I used to know. She was not dressed up, no makeup, no effort to make herself look perfect, just jeans and an old sweatshirt, her hair pulled into a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I just stared at her, and she stared back, swallowing hard, like she did not even know where to start. Then, hey, I raised an eyebrow. You lost. She let out a weak laugh, but it died almost immediately. No, I needed to see you. No, you did not. That threw her off. I could see it in the way she hesitated, shifting her weight from foot to foot, hands twisting together like she did not know what to do with them. She was nervous. She should be. I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. Go home. Her face crumpled. I do not have a home. Not my problem. She exhaled sharply, blinking up at me. I know you hate me. I deserve that. But can we just talk? I tilted my head, pretending to think about it. Nah. She flinched, like the word had physically hurt her. Then, her voice cracked. I did not know what to do. I had to fight the urge to laugh. Because that was not my problem, either. She must have seen the flicker of amusement cross my face because she rushed forward, her voice cracking. Please, just listen. I have lost everything. My friends will not talk to me. My family barely tolerates me. I cannot even find a decent job because my last boss fired me when he found out why I got divorced. I do not even know who I am anymore. I stared at her, waited, because I knew what was coming next. And right on cue, I miss you. There it was. I sighed, rubbing a hand over my jaw. You miss me? Or do you miss having someone who actually gave a damn about you? Her lips parted, but no words came out. I gave her a second, gave her a chance to be honest. She did not take it. Instead, she did what cheaters always do. She reached for the only excuse she had left. I was drunk. I never meant to hurt you. I do not even remember. I laughed. A deep, sharp, bitter laugh. You remember. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Stop lying. You remember. You made a choice, and you thought you would never get caught. She blinked rapidly, shaking her head. No, I swear. You swear. I repeated, stepping closer. You swore to me on our wedding day, too. That did not mean a damn thing either, did it? Tears welled in her eyes, but they did not work on me anymore. I know you hate me, she whispered. I shrugged. Hate takes effort. You are not worth the energy. She sucked in a sharp breath, her entire body trembling. And then, she broke. Her shoulders collapsed, and for the first time, she really cried. Not the fake tears she used to manipulate. Not the dramatic sobs she used to guilt trip. Just pure, broken, real grief. I watched her unravel, watched her realize there was nothing left to salvage, nothing left to hold on to. She had lost, and she knew it. Finally, after a long, quiet moment, she wiped her face with her sleeve, sniffled, and nodded. Okay, she whispered. Then she turned and walked away. I watched her go, watched her disappear down the street, shrinking into nothing but a bad memory. I shut the door, locked it. Then I walked back outside, sat in my chair, and took a slow sip of my beer. For the first time in years, I had nothing to worry about. No lies, no betrayal, no dead weight holding me down. Just peace. Real, honest peace. And damn, it felt good.